I'm James Cherry. This is my 1/15 scale Phantom model. Similar to my Tomcat, this is same scale. Again, based off of the missile and wheel availabilities, brick availabilities for those. Again, it functions. It has power function, tailerons, flaps, spoilers. I think that's it. So they all work from their power functions remotes. This particular plane is quite a famous Vietnam plane, flown by some of the aces in Vietnam. One of my favourite planes. This has been really, these two are my all-time favourites, so that's why I've built these two models. Again, everything standard really, other than the canopy glazing again, which is vacuum formed myself out of a mould. And obviously all the custom decal work.
Yeah, and this is another great model. So you build these planes here. Did you build these as a kid? Have you been building with Lego kind of your whole life, or did you maybe start with sort of other types of model building and then get into Lego later? How did that work?
I've always been into Lego since I was a kid. I had a very short dark period, but when Star Wars models came out, I've been building those quite a lot. I'm not a big kit builder. I always was building my own thing, really. At most of the stages through my career. I think how I got into these 3-4 years ago with the advent of all the curved slopes that came out really made a difference. I was a very frustrated builder before that. Everything was too blocky, didn't look like scale models. I wanted to build scale models, something that you would think, wow, that's not made of Lego. And it really wasn't possible, I think, 3-4 years ago. But now with the plethora of curved slopes, it's made a huge difference to making a model of this kind of nature now. And so suddenly it's opened up quite a lot of possibilities in terms of building these big models. And building big does help the fidelity of the shaping. So that's another factor for the size.
And can you talk a little bit more about the decals? I know these are just so impressive the way you do this. Maybe for people who are interested in adding some decals to their own builds, how do you do that? What's the technique for that?
Well, I'm lucky because my father used to be a sign writer, and he has a machine which basically cuts vinyl. So these very, beautifully cut and displayed stickers, they're all cut on a machine, a plotting machine. So I designed the files, and then I cut them out on his plotter in the various colours. These very small ones are called dry rubs, and they're a bit like, I don't know if you ever heard of Letraset in the old days. You used to get them in packets of Frosties and cereal where you'd rub off on a backing sheet onto a picture or something. You'd rub a picture off. These are the same thing. They come on a carrier sheet and you rub them with a pencil on the back, and then they stick to the model. And if you ever want to get rid of them, what's great about them is they just scratch off with a fingernail, and you can remove them from the Lego, so you can reuse the Lego in that regard. They're quite rare now though, so it's hard to find companies that will print them. I'm lucky I have one quite close to me who'll do them for me, but they're not cheap to do. But the detail is incredible. I mean, you can go down to I think 1 mil high letters, which you can't do in any other medium really, from a sticker's perspective.
Right, yeah, and it gets those little extra details that look so nice.
Well, and it doesn't leave. You don't have a backing mark around it, so there's no other clear sticker around it. So it really looks like it's painted on there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and something else I've noticed in your builds you have here, it's a lot of like gray and white. So do you notice that when you use so many of one color, is it hard to source bricks in that color because they're used up, or you bought all there is of a certain kind of piece?
Yeah, luckily gray and white are two of the most prominent colors available. So you can pretty much get every brick in these colors, and there's always a lot of them around. But yeah, I tend to, mostly I can get everything I need from Europe. But certainly I have to go to the far corners of Europe to source enough of some of the bricks, because I use some of them in the hundreds, and yeah, it's quite hard to get hold of at times.
Now, I talked to a lot of builders in the U.S., and they seem to order a lot of bricks from European bricklink sellers. Do you find yourself buying from many American bricklink sellers, or mostly Europeans?
Occasionally, if there's a bulk amount that I need, I do. So I probably, every year, each of these builds, there's probably a couple of US bricklink buys in there. For very specific parts where they're just a bit cheaper over there for some reason. And then I travel to the US with work quite a lot, so I can collect them. So I'd have to pay the shipping and the duty charges, which helps a bit. So I do buy a little bit from there, but mostly the European guys have have enough pieces that I require.
Right. Well, this build is so great. When you have these builds at home, do you keep them displayed like this, kind of in your living room or something like that, or what do you do with these when you have them at home?
So the latest model, which is the Tomcat, and it was this one, I will leave built in my. I have an office stroke Lego room. I will leave my latest one, sort of built up, so I can look at it.
Right.
But yeah, inevitably, all the others go into boxes, into the garage storage. Previous builds that I've done, planes that I've done are in storage. I'd like to find homes for them, a museum or something like that. I've been looking at some options that people might be interested in some, but it's tricky. I'd love to have them all on display all the time, but just, don't have enough room.
Right. Space is always a limitation. Well, these turned out great. Thank you. I appreciate you talking with me about them.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you.